Welcome, my friends. Roma wins 3-0 against Sheriff at the Stadio Olimpico, over 60,000 in attendance. Thank you for joining me here today. I'm Wayne Gerard. We're going to be breaking it all down. At the very end, we will look at the Mourinho press conference, but I want to get to the stats. I want to talk about Pisilli, take a look at Roma's potential opponents in the Europa League knockout round. And I know that the press conferences, sometimes they take a while, and I value your time. But let's get to it straight away, okay? Let's take a look at the starting lineups. And I just took myself directly out of it. There we go. That's a little better. Maybe we'll look at this one. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Svilar in the back. And then we had Cristante. I'm going to get over to that page here. Llorente and Salik taking it back. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, which on Twitter, I put something like Salik was going to be right wing back. I thought maybe he was going to put Karsdorp back. I don't know why I thought that, but that's how it's set up with Salik playing more as the right center back. That's not his usual position. He didn't play like that at Lille. I think he played in a back four. But in midfield, we see Sanchez get the start with Eddie Bove. Aouar gets a rare commencement start there. Zalewski on the left, who gets another chance, right? We think of that red card against Fiorentina. What would happen to Zalewski? But he repays his coach's faith in him, and he has a good performance tonight. Lukaku with Belotti, I was worried about this one. I thought it would be stagnant. But I guess against like Sheriff, you can get away with it. They don't have too much quality. And going into it, I'm like, where's the creativity going to come from without Dybala? We still don't have that answer. There's no solution yet without Paulo as far as how we make Roma makes goals. In the simplest sense, how are they manufactured? Is it just sending the guys up there to center forwards who play similar to one another and hope and a prayer, playing long ball? Is that it? Is it getting Aouar more developed into the attack? And today I was very pleased with him. I'm going to go through the play-by-play here. So in the 11th minute, speaking of Aouar, he splits two players between the lines to Zalewski, who plays a low-driven cross into Lukaku, which is Romelu's fifth goal in the Europa League this season. Then about 20 minutes later in the 32nd, Renato loops a ball into Zalewski, who hits it on the volley with the outside of his right foot. And then Belotti comes in to make sure that one goes into the back of the net. I was glad to see El Gallo get his goal. And it's been some time, right? So, like I said, I'm happy for him. And it's time for him, I think, to be reintegrated into the setup with Lukaku going to be out off that red card, which I'm actually furious about. I don't like seeing any Roma player make that. I do want to see Belotti get a little bit of confidence, right? If he's going to be Roma's main striker for the next week or two, maybe we'll see what happens. If there's any further punishment, I don't think so, but maybe he gets a run of games in here and gets some confidence under his belt. 38th minute, Svilar makes a nice stop onto Sheriff's counterattack. He cuts off the angle. It's good. Svilar looks decent. I'm curious to see when he's going to get some time in Serie A, but it doesn't look like it's going to be this season. Mourinho has this guy, Rui Patricio, and by all means, really he's done his job lately. I can't say he's been prime Buffon, but he's done his job, and that's the least we could ask for. The most we could ask? I don't know, but it's good. It's appropriate. 51st minute, it's a good exchange with Renato and Lukaku, who almost scores with his right foot from the top of the box. Renato Sanchez it just frustrates me, right? And it must get under your skin too. Like, he's so good, he's so technical. To me, he's one of the best of his generation skill wise. You gotta stay fit. Not enough witch doctor stuff. That was a joke. Roma Press got ripped for that when he quoted them. That wasn't pretty. 64th minute, Pagano gets into it with El Shaarawy, an exchange between them, but Bove's shot ends up being a bit too weak and is saved comfortably. 78th minute, El Shaarawy dribbles nicely through three marks, cuts in and plays Bove, but it's saved. That was a very nice run from El Shaarawy from about the halfway line, and he drives into the final third of Sheriff, and Bove he's not technical enough. He's still got room to grow there. 87th minute, a header directed straight into Svilar. That's one of Sheriff's only two goal-scoring opportunities. And the real focus of today's match is what happens in the 93rd minute. Pisilli receives it at the middle from Bove, breaks his forward, goes one-on-one, takes him out, then drives, hits Lukaku, keeps his run going on the give and go, takes his shot. It's not the best shot of all time, but he gets a little bit of fortune, and the kid, the 19-year-old, gets his first goal on his senior debut. I think it's a senior debut. Maybe there was an appearance last year. It doesn't matter, semantics, and gets a really nice reward there for him. And he's got some great quotes coming in from today. Let me find those real quick. Here we go. Thanks, Football Italia. Okay, he says, scoring in this stadium with this jersey, I never could have imagined this moment. The Roma fans are special. Everyone knows that. I'm a lifelong Roma fan. I just tried to do what I always do because if you step onto the field with fear, that's the worst. The coach told me to stay calm. I hope I achieve that. Working with him every day is incredible. He doesn't need any intro. It's an honor to work with him. He said, I started at Roma at the age of 9. So it's been 10 years that I've grown up here, and the club is like a second family. That is what Roma means to me. And imagine what it must feel like for him. He's overcome with emotion. He starts crying, and it's a special moment. It's nice to see. This is the 13th youngster who has been given his debut under Mourinho, which is something I'm happy about, very satisfied, more than satisfied. I'm grateful that Mourinho has introduced so many young guys, whether by necessity or him just seeing that they are ready to make up the jump. And Roma's academy is a strength. I also think that there's ways that the academy could be better. I think that there needs to be a true way that the team plays than if, like, let's say Rudy Garcia gets sacked from Roma. Okay, well, does the next coach play in a similar way? Or is the club recruiting players which play a certain way, a certain style? So as much as the academy has produced fruitful talent, I think that there are a couple of things that could be changed in the way that they play from the ground up. I think that's important. But let's take a look at what we've got here. Galatasaray, Lens, Sporting Braga, who's fourth in the Portuguese First League, as well as Benfica, who is third. Benfica is a team who went pretty far in the Champions League last year. Feyenoord, which would be like the umpteenth time Roma has faced Feyenoord. Young Boys, and Shakhtar Donetsk. Surprised to see Shakhtar so far, holding out given the political circumstances. Give me a shout. Who do you want Roma to face? Who do you not want Roma to face? Put those in the comments now, if you could, please. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Okay, it is about that time. I've got a cool picture here, though, from Roma Club Montreal, right outside Termini Station in Rome. That one's that's pretty sharp, no? Okay. What can we say about Sheriff? We don't want to overblow these, but we don't want to undersell them either. These are games that Roma needs to win. Of course, they don't get first place in their division, which is why they're going to face these teams which have been given the drop from the Champions League. But you don't want to discount it either. I think it's a good way to get the kids integrated, get players moving around who haven't gotten a lot of time. So as much as the Europa League is and European competition and cup play is like a distraction sometimes, there are some benefits to it. I think it's keeping the legs warm from some of the guys who don't get too much time otherwise. Okay. He's asked by Sky, you gave 13 young players their debut. He said, I gave many players their debut in other teams too, but the kids from here grew up in Rome and came to the stadium with their dad and their grandfather. They live with great emotion. For Pisilli, it wasn't his debut, unlike Manini. Manini is the 13th, but he scored the first goal at the Olimpico in the magic goal where they have dreamed of scoring since they were children. I had to run away so I wouldn't cry too. All right, we're not going to go over every single line, but you can go to Wayne and Rome on Twitter or X and find some stuff here, or just read the transcript. I want to focus on this one. Which defender do you expect in January? He says one that we can buy. He says it's the owners one that they want. I want Thiago Pinto and the fans. We're all in this together. Addresses FFP that there's not too much mobility, and that's the truth. He's being coy. Will it be Kivior? Will it be somebody else, maybe from the Premier League? Premier League defenders have done very well in Italy in the past 10 years due to their physicality, what they bring. So I think that would be a good move there. Okay, into the press conference. Still about young players. I want to focus on that a little bit more in this episode. He says, for the young players, it's a process which begins in training in football. And then when they arrive in the first team, there are different ways. When we arrived, we decided that some young players would stay every day to work with the first team. Then there's opportunities who arrive or who don't arrive. There are the players, the parents, the agents who accept or don't accept a certain path. Here, I want to talk about Bove. He says, for example, Bove was the Pagano, the Pisilli of today. He always trained with us, played a few minutes, then always had more. He had stability, no pressure. There are many components. For example, the parents who, when their son doesn't play in the first team, they have to leave because they're a phenomenon. Saying, like, some parents get upset and they're like, oh, well, why is he not playing? My kid's so good. And this happens at not just a professional level, but think of like, your situation growing up and kids who left or whatever. You know how parents get. Then there's financial fair play. When the money is needed only on loan, maybe Volpato and Misori would otherwise still be here. We discussed with the club and choose a balanced situation. I was quote unquote in love with Tahirovic and then he had to leave. Then there's other opportunities that they open for other players. I have made players debut at all clubs, but these guys are all Roma supporters. Only Joao Costa arrived from Brazil. The others all came to Tagoria for an autograph. Uh, that's a great line, right? They did. They waited probably outside the gates for the players to take pictures and sign. Pisilli cried after the goal. In the locker room, I had to leave. Otherwise, I would have cried too. They don't want to make money, but to be Roma players. It's a nice thing. Today, also Manini's turn. For me, it's important to help kids become players for Roma if possible, or for other clubs. For example, like Faticanti, Felix. He says, but I'm always at home. I really like this situation. It's a different chapter of Mourinho. It's not one of superstars. It's not one where the goal from the board of directors is to win the Champions League and the title. This is not Drogba's Chelsea. It's very different. But it is interesting to see Mourinho enjoying this opportunity. And to be fair, I would be annoyed too if I joined a club and I had won every trophy to date and suddenly but my team was in a situation where they couldn't sign players, couldn't really sign quality, dependable players. That's really frustrating. Think of it from his perspective. And look, at times I get frustrated with Mourinho. You probably know that. I get criticized for that too. But you also got to see it from the other point of view. And I do feel like Mourinho is enjoying himself. And I like the fact that he's allowed these debutants to come out. And you could also see what he does when he has his players behind him. When Mourinho has quality players, he knows how to handle them. And not every manager can. Not every manager knows how to handle superstars or people who are getting a little bit too big for their breeches. Is that the term? Too big for their britches? Britches? Oh, okay. We'll keep moving. What impressions did you have of Sheriff and what do you wish for them? Second to last question here. He says they're a quote unquote small team, right? That beat Real 2 years ago. That's football. They didn't beat us today because we played an ambitious first half with the aim of winning with 5 goals. Then we gave up a bit of the level of intensity and the match changed. I think they will win the title again and return to the Europa League. They have good players and are organized. Let's move on. Zalewski preserved him mentally in a part of the season in which he was out of condition, and now he was thrown back into the fray with great responses. He says he's physically well. I think he still needs to improve his concentration levels when he gets into the final third of the pitch, improve the quality of his assists, but physically he's growing. Even on a motivational level, he understands that what is missing is an important half of the season. He has significant growth, then he dropped a bit. It often happens with young players. Now I see him with more maturity. He played an interesting game. So I think from Zalewski's point of view, it probably was difficult after being embarrassed and, you do that red card at home and then suddenly Fiorentina score right after it. That lives with you as a player. And he's still got to wake up and live in Rome for the rest of the week, until he can redeem himself. But I did feel like this match he did. Think of the assist he had to Lukaku's goal. And on the second goal, he almost scored, but nevertheless, he was an important part of it. It was his half save against him that Belotti headed in. So you give Zalewski some credit here, and he hasn't always been like my favorite player in the sense that I don't find that he's always shown up with the quality or the attitude, especially and Mourinho just said the same thing, right? That's not just my opinion. But I was pleased. And I think on that note, we can end, guys. Leave a comment, leave a like, leave a subscription, all that good stuff. Let me know what you think. We'll talk soon. We've got Bologna coming up. Thiago Motta's Bologna, the 2-7-2 formation. We'll be talking a lot about that in the preview.